Hello, welcome. It's 12:12 on May 28, 2020, and time for Awareness Moments with Kyra. And I'm grateful to see you here. Welcome, Kimberly Wright, and the others that will be joining us. And I am just always honored to be in this process of what is it that wants to come through in our awareness? What are we experiencing and how do we process that? Welcome, Cheryl Dickinson and Kimberly Rosenthal. And so today, the thing that was up for me is that going through this life experience and the many things that are happening in our world, we go through inner experiences of different energies, different frequencies, different feelings coming through our being. And we get to decide, what do I do with those in the moment when they come through? You know, some days we may not even know why we're experiencing something, but something gets triggered and all of a sudden we're experiencing some feelings. And our challenge is, what do we do with those feelings when they arise? If we know that our natural way of being is joy or harmony or peace, and then what happens is we have these feelings and we have these thoughts that come through. And what occurs in that process, they begin to anchor in us and they begin to go down a well-worn pathway. I would say a stream of consciousness that we've gone through before. Welcome, Mary McCormick Morrow and George Pwaznik. Great to have you both here. And when those feelings hit us, they activate a stream of consciousness that's familiar. You know, if we feel frustration or anger, we have natural ways of being with that. Welcome, Amelia, and all of you have ways that you kind of are common ways that you respond to situations. Are you one that's triggered into anger or into fear? Are you somebody that is easily triggered into righteousness in that moment, self-righteousness, or in condemning or judging? We have well-worn pathways. Now, the challenge of this is that even when we're learning to be in awareness, we still have those feelings coming through. We may feel into the collective. Many of you on this process are empaths. So you not only feel your own feelings, but you feel the feelings of others. Welcome, Carol Curtis. And so in that journey, a part of what we're learning is, how do I respond to that in such a way that as those feelings rise up? Some days there's this. Yesterday I was in a great mood of laughter and joy. And this morning I woke with this heaviness. And I was dealing with a lot of people with different heavinesses yesterday. But I also was aware of this collective energy that's happening out there right now. And that collective energy is then affecting the field. And so if I touch into that, and the reason it affects me is because I have feelings that are in that same vein. The challenge with this is that when we let those feelings rise in us, but if we try to numb them or we try to redirect them and not allow ourselves to experience what we're feeling, then they get into that collective stream that we've gone through before, and they have a patterned way of responding. They start to create certain kinds of thoughts in us. Well, first of all, they create the idea that it shouldn't be this because we're denying our feelings in that moment, rather than allowing them to pass through. When we open and give them the space, acknowledge, invite them to inform us of, what do I need to know from you? What do I need to learn from you today? Why are these feelings here? Welcome, E. Lopez Lockhart. That when I ask those questions and allow them to begin to inform me, what's this really about? What in me is angry when underneath it, it's really there's fear? What in me is feeling so pushing against the world because I don't want it to be the way it is. I want it to be different. I want to be different. I might get to that. Welcome, Joseph Oketch. Is that, what is it that is really fueling this experience of these feelings, and what does it tap into and begin to expand on? Because it begins to change our whole thought process. When we allow our Our welcome from Africa. Glad to have you, Joseph, from Africa with us, from Kenya. And when we begin to feel the power of these and we allow feelings to come through and be expressed without putting a lot of meaning on them, without adding them to the stream where we've gone down before, that same stream of consciousness, the feelings will come up and will inform us, but also can be expressed and passed through. But when we hold on to them, when we try to deny I'm feeling this, or I don't want to feel this, and I try to, push against it, or I try to direct it. We're really good at wanting to direct everything in our world, aren't we? And so in those moments of working with those feelings and not really honoring what they're here to express and giving them space to do that, then all of a sudden they become something that begins to have control and start to shift my whole thinking process. All of a sudden, I'm thinking, well, this is going to go on forever. These feelings are so uncomfortable. I start to feel overwhelmed. I start to feel frustrated, angry with the feelings themselves, angry with myself for having those feelings. I think I shouldn't. I begin to have all these different ways that I begin to allow them to change my thought process if I'm feeling depressed and sad for some reason. And it may be that I'm feeling the collective sadness. It may be that I'm feeling my own sadness. It could be that there's just a stream of that in the airwaves, in the divine waves that are coming through. And if I allow it, then I'm helping process that for the world. If I don't allow it, then it begins to start taking over me. Many times with depression, that can lead to then similar thoughts where it joins that stream of consciousness. It moves into similar thoughts that I've had before. Oh, well, then all of a sudden that goes to hopelessness and helplessness. And I no longer am in my sense of, I breathe through these, I allow these, I move them forward. And instead they create this distortion when I don't. They may be that I go and try to numb the feelings in various ways that we do, or I might just decide that I'm going to, act like they're not there and just try to override them. I try to override the feelings. Well, have you ever noticed when you do that, then they come out sideways? We start running around, we're breathing fire, we don't even realize it. So we've got our little dragon cells out, and because we haven't really dealt with the feelings that are inside of us. And then all of a sudden we zing somebody, we sear them with our little fiery words in that moment because we haven't actually dealt with our own inner experience. I want to say welcome to Christina Rathman and Christiana and to Perry and Charlotte. Thank you for being here. It is such an important process we're in right now of learning to experience and notice our feelings. They're up, they're big right now. They are amplified in this time of things being in the unknown. So our feelings are amplified because we're feeling a little off center. So they have even bigger impact on how we work with them and what they create inside of us, and then how we follow that path. Now, if we do get into an old stream of consciousness that is now taking us down this other path, or just a cumulative consciousness of things that we've experienced and thought before. So every time I've ever been depressed, all those feelings come rushing to the surface again in this moment. And all of a sudden it's amplified, it's overwhelming. It feels much bigger than it really was if I dealt with the feelings in the moment. So now I get the opportunity to deal with the bigger rush of feelings. But I also have stories that I'm used to telling. I have meaning that I've given to these things, meaning about me, meaning about the world, or whatever. I have ways that now I'm hooking into old patterns and beliefs. So it's very important that the thing I do is I start to notice the minute some feelings are up. There's an unsettled experience inside of me. There's something that's, I'm just having a hard time, whatever. Even, I may not know what it is. I don't need to identify it. I need to feel it. And when I feel, that and I ask myself, where am I feeling this in my body? Is it a clutching in my gut? Is it a burning in my heart? Is it a knocking, a pounding in my head? There are different ways. There's sensations that we have, that I have energy that wants to be expressed and I can't seem to get it out. Well, I need to find a way to physically move that energy as well as emotionally experience it. Maybe I just need to hit the air, and I need to shake it out. I need to find ways, because for me, if I don't, then all of a sudden it becomes that big overwhelming. I find more people reaching for help once they've reached that overwhelm, because they've hooked back into hopelessness, helplessness, feeling disempowered, feeling like what's the point of it all, feeling they don't feel the power in themselves in that moment. So it's really, the sooner we can get to the experience in the moment, allow that sensation and allow it to come through. Recognize that, there's usually fear underneath it. There's fear of it not being okay, of us not being safe. There's fear. There's a lot of ways that fear gets expressed. And most times that is what is occurring for us, is a level of fear that the world is out of control. I can't control it. Hello. Never could, But we feel like somehow I should be. The only thing we get to control is ourselves. And the control there is really not about controlling those emotions so that then they come out sideways, like holding a beach ball underwater. After a while, it will pop out somewhere else. Well, that's what happens when we hold our feelings down. So if instead we can allow those to bob and we notice them for what they are, and we give them a place to breathe through us. I'm just feeling so much anger right now, or I'm just feeling, why? Because I don't like it. It feels scary of what's happening in the world. And I'm angry that it's not a different world than it is. I know I was feeling into all the things over George Floyd and I can't even talk about that because it will just get me. I've sobbed many times over this. But what happens for me is, as the feelings come up, they literally, I can't contain them. They come out. I might sob immediately. I might have, and so therefore I'm able to deal with it in the moment of that experience. Yes, do I want things different? Yes, do I have all these other things that I want to do with this? But the first thing I have to do is come back into harmony within myself, to experience those feelings so that I can be clear in my thought, in my ability to move forward, in the feelings that I bring forth into the world. I don't want to add to the anger of the world. And yet that may rise in me, and I need to experience it so I don't carry it forward, so I don't distort it out somewhere else and snap at someone else or breathe fire, when it is undeserved or unrelated, has nothing to do with the truth of what's there. So it's a very important time for us, because there's a lot of changes happening in the world, and there are a lot of experiences that are coming up to be seen for what they are. And they are stirring us at the depths of our being. So us learning to handle our own internal experience is so important, because then we can show up and be a presence for others, bring a higher realization, bring a place of holding the harmony and the peace as others experience their feelings. It's a beautiful thing to do, to give yourself permission to feel what's there. Let it pass through. Don't keep triggering it, but let it pass through. But definitely give yourself some physical ways to release. That, to me, is one of the most important things that we can do. All right, I love you all, and all the different feelings are valuable. They're important. They're here to inform us. They're to help us to know that there's something unsettled in me, in the universal consciousness. Breathing is always one of the great things we can do. This is a place where we move those energies a lot. And so I honor you wherever you are, whatever you're experiencing. Honor the feelings that are there. Let them come through. Let them flow. and see what might happen if you actually let yourself have them and see how quick they get changed so that you come to an inner freedom. God bless you, friends. See you soon. Tomorrow.